Hello and welcome to this week's ThesisReady.com video tutorial. This week we'll be working on part 1 of a very cool tool which will guarantee a radical increase in signups for your email list. I guarantee that without a doubt this will be the single biggest improvement you make to your site in terms of getting more signups. There are a ton of tools and plugins out there that people are more than willing to sell you to help you get more people to your website. However, this tool in particular works really well, and it's a big win in terms of simplicity, and more importantly, it's a big win in terms of user experience. A lot of those other plugins work by annoying visitors and hoping that enough of them don't get turned off for good. The most common method you see of that is a big overlay box that shows up as soon as someone lands on the site. That's a bad idea. Don't do that. Instead, we're going to get started today on a much better method for getting people to join your mailing list. We're on my demo site here, and after this first post you can see that there's a link that says, "Did you enjoy reading Hello World?" And when I click on that, this overlay box pops up that has a video playing automatically. If you look beneath it, you can see, "Why should you join my mailing list?" and then fill out the form below to join the mailing list, along with my opt-in form. I'm just using a demo video here since it was handy, but on the live site this would be replaced with a sales presentation video, or even better, a video of you on camera thanking the reader for visiting your site or reading your post or clicking on the link or whatever. So that way when they click on the link they can see your face and make a personal connection with you. And then right down below that you can add 5 to 10 bullet points and a little bit of text along with your opt-in box so that you can let them know about your mailing list and that you won't spam them, etc. So it's really a 1-2 punch. You've got a video of your face plus a little more space to sell, and right below all that you have a space to collect a visitor's name and email address. The other nice thing about this method is that this text, which can say whatever you want it to or even be replaced with a button, carries with it an implicit opt-in. You get a chance to provide valuable content and then follow up with a personal connection without needing to force it down anyone's throat. So that's what we'll be working on today, and let's get started. So I'm going to start by refreshing the page so we can get started on a blank slate, and as you can see without the code in there, the link that got us to that video goes away. So the first thing we need to do is look into a jQuery plugin called Colorbox. You can get Colorbox by going to colorpowered.com/colorbox, or if you just Google Colorbox, it's the first link that shows up. So here's the page, and you'll need to download the latest version, which at the time of this recording was version 1.3.15. We'll quickly click on the demo to see this plugin in action and get a glimpse at different styles available. If we click on number 5, we can see that in action, and it's pretty subtle and tasteful. It's really nice looking. For this tutorial, however, we'll be using style number 1. If you want to use a different look, just read through this page and you'll learn everything you need to do that. Let's get started by firing up our customfunctions.php file, and we'll add 3 hooks. The first action hooks in the function called header scripts to WP head. The second adds CTA link to the thesis hook after post hook. And finally we'll add the Popup box function to thesis hook after HTML. If you were to save and refresh the page right now, we'd get nothing but errors since none of these functions exist yet. So let's go ahead and create these functions. We'll start off by creating the header scripts function. Inside we'll link to the colorbox.css. I'm going to quickly locate my file now. You'll see that I already uploaded my files to the custom folder. There are a few scripts, styles, and images required. Just drop these in the correct place as I've done. In the header scripts function we'll include the colorbox CSS file along with the colorbox JavaScript file. You'll notice I'm linking to these using the thesis custom folder constant, which saves on database calls and will help the site load faster. I've also included jQuery using the Google Content Delivery Network API. Next we need to define the parameters of the color box we want to use. I'll go over this quickly, but if you want to learn more, just check out the color box documentation. The first line here is checking to make sure the document object model is ready. We can execute this jQuery function. Then we define which link we want to attach this action to, in this case a link with a class of CTA link. The parameters of the color box mean we have a width of 620 pixels with inline content from a div with an ID of CTA overlay box. And lastly, we set the onPageLoad attribute to false, since we don't want this overlay to fire as soon as the page is ready to go. The whole point of this exercise, of course, is to not annoy visitors, remember? Now we need to create a second function called CTA link. Set it up as normal, so function, then the name, which is CTA link. You'll notice I'm including this line, which is global $post. This means I'm giving the function access to the contents of that variable, and since this function will be used inside of the loop, that means we can use the post title and permalink functions. Time to create a div with a class of CTA box and put a link inside of it. The href is just a pound sign since it doesn't take us to a new page. The class is CTA link, so it matches what's defined in the color box parameters. Then, since we have access to the post variable, we'll set the anchor text to did you enjoy, then the function the_title. So the post title shows up as in the example I showed you earlier. If that global variable line isn't there, this won't work correctly, so make sure you get that part right. Finally, we'll create the Popup box function. Start with a div with the style set to display none, since we want all of the content to be hidden until the user clicks. Next, create another div with an ID of CTA overlay box. Just make sure this div ID matches the div ID defined above. I'm going to define a few style rules here, but normally these would go in your custom.css file. Now I'm going to center the content. I've copied in this chunk of code, which is called ws3v theme function. As some of you may know, ThesisReady recently released an awesome plugin not too long ago, which allows you to securely embed video content into your site from Amazon S3, which is what I'm doing here. Be sure to check that out if you haven't. It's called the WordPress S3 Video Manager. Now we'll quickly step through the function settings. First we have the path of the video file, which is just the file name since it isn't in a folder in my S3 bucket. We have the width of the video, then the height after that. Next, this value determines if the video autoplays, and after that, if it will auto buffer. I've set these both to true, so the video will load in the background and be ready to start as soon as the link is clicked, so no one has to wait. The last two parameters are the ID of the video container, which you can set to whatever you want, and the video volume respectively. After that, we add a line break and an H2 which asks the question, why join my list? After that, we add the bullet points to sell visitors on signing up. Hopefully your reasons will be better than mine. Remember to close the unordered list as well. Finally, another H2 title tag with a call to action. Then I'm going to copy in my dummy form. In your case, you drop in your Aweber or MailChimp form. And there it is. That's it in a nutshell. So in 58 lines of code, we go from nothing to a cool opt-in box that rewards users for visiting your site rather than punishing them like most systems. Hope you enjoyed this week's tutorial, and feel free to bring on the questions and comments.